What if I told you that every decision you've been making, big or small, has been holding you back from truly living your best life? Yeah, I'm talking about that endless back and forth, the stress over every choice, and the constant second-guessing. Sound familiar? You're not alone. We've all been there, paralyzed by options, drowning in opinions, and still feeling uncertain about what's right. But here's the thing, the problem isn't the decisions themselves. It's the way we approach them. What if, instead of being overwhelmed, you could make decisions with clarity, confidence, and even a bit of boldness? In this video, we're diving deep into pragmatism, the powerful, no-nonsense approach to decision-making that doesn't require you to have it all figured out, doesn't demand perfect answers, and sure as heck doesn't waste your time. I know it sounds simple, but trust me, it's not. It's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about making choices. So, if you're ready to stop overthinking and start living, stay tuned. You're about to learn practical, actionable strategies that will shift the way you approach every decision from here on out. Let's get into it. Number 1. The 5-minute rule. Quick decisions, no regrets. Ever spent hours, maybe even days, going back and forth on a decision that really only needed 5 minutes of your time? Yeah, we've all been there. We analyze, we debate, we research, until we're so deep in the weeds that we've forgotten why we were making the decision in the first place. Sound familiar? Well, here's a bold idea. What if you could cut all that out and make better decisions in just 5 minutes? Yep, you heard me right. The 5-minute rule. Quick decisions, no regrets. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, that's too simplistic, hear me out. I know it sounds almost too good to be true, but think about it. How often have you spent hours deliberating, only to realize you could have made the call much quicker? The more you think, the more you complicate things. You start weighing every possible outcome, imagining every what-if scenario, and the decision-making process just keeps expanding until it's a monster. Trust me, I get it. You think you're being careful, being thorough, but here's the truth. Overthinking is often just a fancy way of procrastinating. I'm not saying throw caution to the wind and make rash decisions without considering the consequences. What I'm proposing is a small but powerful shift. Give yourself 5 minutes to make any decision, big or small, and here's the kicker. Once the timer goes off, you commit to the choice. No second-guessing, no backtracking. You act on it. Why? Because in most situations, the perfect answer doesn't exist. What's most important is moving forward with confidence, rather than being paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice. Let me tell you a story. A few months ago, I was at the crossroads of making a career move. I had 2 job offers on the table, both with exciting possibilities, but I was stuck. I kept going back and forth. This one had better pay, that one had more growth potential. It felt like I was in a never-ending loop. But then I remembered the 5-minute rule. So I set a timer and forced myself to make a decision. After 5 minutes of considering the options, I chose the job that felt right in my gut. And you know what? It turned out to be the perfect move. The funny thing is, had I spent more time deliberating, I'd have probably talked myself out of it. The decision wasn't perfect, but it was my decision, and I moved forward without regret. Here's the kicker. This isn't about rushing blindly through life. It's about trusting yourself enough to know that not every choice has to be perfect to be effective. This is about reclaiming your peace, your time, and your ability to make things happen. You don't have to waste your precious energy overthinking every single choice. You can start to trust that quick, informed decisions are often the best ones. So, here's my challenge to you. Next time you're faced with a decision, set a timer for 5 minutes. Decide and move on. Watch how much mental clutter you clear and how empowered you feel once you stop second-guessing every little move. You've got this. quick decisions, no regrets. Number 2. The reverse gambit. Challenge your assumptions. What if I told you that the next time you're faced with a decision, instead of choosing what feels right, you should actively pick the opposite? Sounds a little counterintuitive, right? Trust me, I get it. But hear me out. The reverse gambit is a game changer when it comes to sharpening your decision-making skills and breaking free from the traps of your own assumptions. Yes, it might sound a little odd at first, but trust me on this. The act of challenging your own thinking can unlock a whole new world of clarity and opportunity. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I choose the opposite of what I want? That just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. But here's the thing. We all have this mental filter we use when making decisions. It's the set of assumptions that help us feel safe and sure of ourselves, but it also limits us. We get comfortable in our own point of view and start seeing things only one way. Sound familiar? It's like when you're deciding what to eat and you always go for pizza. Not because it's the best choice, but because it's the comfortable choice. We all have these mental shortcuts that steer us in the same direction, over and over. The reverse gambit challenges all that. The next time you're about to make a choice, instead of blindly trusting your instincts, try flipping them. If you're leaning toward one option, force yourself to argue for the opposite. Why? Because forcing yourself to see things from a completely different perspective shatters the biases you didn't even know you had. It's like switching from autopilot to manual mode. You're forced to think critically and examine your choices with fresh eyes. It may feel a bit uncomfortable at first, like you're betraying your gut instinct, but here's the kicker. That discomfort is where growth happens. Let me give you a personal example. I've had this habit for years where, when faced with a tough decision, I automatically lean toward playing it safe. But one day, when I was deciding whether to take a risk on a new project at work, I remembered the reverse gambit. I was set to decline the opportunity, but instead I spent 10 minutes arguing for why I should take it. I focused on the benefits I hadn't considered, the challenge, the learning experience, the possibility of growth. I'll admit, it felt strange. But by the end of that exercise, I realized I was letting fear and comfort dictate my choices, not my potential. I ended up saying yes to the project, and it turned out to be one of the best career decisions I've ever made. That decision, which initially seemed like a leap of faith, was actually a calculated move toward growth. The reverse gambit isn't just about making better decisions. It's about reclaiming your mental space. It's about not letting the same old assumptions guide you into the same old patterns. It's about learning to be more flexible with your thinking and not being afraid to challenge your own logic. This approach will help you become more confident, not because you always make the right choice, but because you develop the courage to question your own certainty. So the next time you're stuck, try this. Embrace the discomfort of seeing things from a new angle. Challenge your assumptions, flip the script, and watch how much more empowered you feel in your decision-making, your peace, your growth, and your future. These are all at stake. And if you can learn to embrace the reverse gambit, you'll be making decisions with confidence, clarity, and a sense of adventure. Number 3. Decision by elimination, the pragmatic purge. What if I told you that the next time you're faced with a big decision, you should eliminate choices instead of adding more? It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? You might be thinking, wait, don't I need more options to make the best decision? Well, trust me on this. Sometimes less is more. The decision by elimination approach is all about simplifying the overwhelming. It's like decluttering your brain so you can focus on what actually matters instead of drowning in a sea of possibilities. We've all been there, right? You're standing in front of a decision, whether it's picking a career path, choosing a place to live, or even deciding what to eat for dinner, and the number of options feels endless. You start considering every little detail, weighing all the pros and cons, and before you know it, you're paralyzed by choice. You want the perfect answer, so you end up getting stuck in the never-ending cycle of what-if scenarios. Sound familiar? It's exhausting. You overthink, you overanalyze, and you still feel unsure. That's where the magic of decision by elimination comes in. Here's how it works. Instead of trying to add more information or options to your decision-making process, you start by eliminating choices you know you can do without. Maybe it's a job offer that looks great on paper but doesn't excite you. Or maybe it's a social event you're considering, but know deep down you're not interested in. Instead of asking, "What's the best choice?" ask, "What choices can I completely rule out?" By cutting down your options, you make room for clarity and focus. The decision-making process gets a whole lot easier when you stop trying to juggle a million things. Let me give you a real-life example. A few years ago, I was debating between two cities to move to for a job. One was a bustling metropolis with endless opportunities, while the other was a quieter town with a slower pace of life. I was overwhelmed by all the factors I had to consider: job growth, cost of living, lifestyle, commute times. The list seemed endless. I could have spent weeks or even months considering every possible angle, but instead I decided to apply the decision by elimination approach. I made a quick list of things I absolutely didn't want: crazy high rent, a job market that didn't align with my skills, a chaotic environment, and eliminated cities that fit those negatives. Suddenly, I had just one or two options left to focus on. It made the decision so much clearer, and I ended up choosing the town that was the right fit for me, without second-guessing it. This isn't just about saving time, it's about protecting your mental peace. When you eliminate the irrelevant choices, you're not just narrowing down your options, you're clearing out the mental clutter that makes decisions feel so overwhelming. This approach helps you trust yourself more because you're not bogged down by infinite possibilities. You learn to say no to things that don't serve you, which is one of the most empowering things you can do. By letting go of the things that don't matter, you create space for what truly does. So the next time you're stuck in a decision-making loop, remember this: simplify, eliminate, and clear your mind. The power isn't in having more choices. It's in having the strength to let go of the ones that don't fit. This is about reclaiming your time, your focus, and your confidence. No more indecision, no more mental overload, just clarity and purpose. Make the pragmatic purge, eliminate what you don't need, and watch how easily the right decision reveals itself. Number 4, failure as a fast track. Speed through mistakes. What if I told you that failure isn't the roadblock you think it is, but actually the shortcut to success? Sounds crazy, right? But trust me on this. Failure isn't something to be avoided or feared. It's actually one of the quickest ways to get to where you want to go. Yes, you heard that right. The idea that failure slows you down, that's a myth. When you start to see failure as a fast track, you'll unlock a whole new level of progress. Now, you might be thinking, but doesn't failure set me back? I get it. It feels counterintuitive, but here's the catch. It's all about how you use it. We've all been there. You try something, give it your all, and then, boom, you fail. Whether it's a project at work, a personal goal, or even just a plan that fell apart, failure hits hard. You might feel embarrassed, frustrated, or like you've just wasted your time. It's that gut-wrenching feeling of defeat that most of us try to avoid at all costs. You know the type. You spend hours prepping for something only for it to fall apart in the final moments. It feels like all your effort was for nothing. We've all felt that sting, that gut punch that makes you question if you should even keep going. But here's the twist. What if I told you that failure is actually one of your most powerful tools? Think about it. When you fail, you get real-time feedback. You learn what didn't work, why it didn't work, and what you can do better next time. Each mistake is like a mini lesson that cuts through all the guesswork, speeding up your learning process. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about embracing it. You get to skip over the fluff and jump straight into what actually matters, how to fix things and do them better. Let me give you an example from my own life. A few months ago, I was working on a project that I was absolutely sure would be perfect. I had everything mapped out, the plan was solid, and I thought I had covered all the bases. But then, something went wrong. I missed a major detail, and the whole thing crashed and burned. At first I was devastated. I spent days feeling like I had failed myself and everyone around me. But then I realized something crucial. This wasn't the end of the road. It was just a fast track to getting better. Instead of lingering on what went wrong, I analyzed every mistake, broke down where I could improve, and worked on tweaking my process. That failure, it ended up saving me weeks of time because I learned so much from it. It sped me up rather than holding me back. Here's the real beauty of failure. It forces you to make adjustments and course correct in real time. When you're not afraid of failing, you're willing to take risks, experiment, and fail forward. That's where growth happens. It's like driving a car. You can only learn how to steer and accelerate by actually getting behind the wheel and driving, no matter how many bumps you hit along the way. Failure teaches you more than success ever will, because it forces you to be honest with yourself and adapt. So, here's the thing. Don't waste your energy trying to avoid mistakes. Instead, speed through them. Each failure is a step closer to getting where you want to go. It's not about avoiding the missteps, it's about embracing them and using them to propel yourself forward. This is about reclaiming your confidence, your growth, and your ability to bounce back stronger each time. Failure isn't your enemy, it's your ally in disguise. And the sooner you start viewing it that way, the faster you'll get where you want to be. So go ahead, fail fast, and watch how quickly you start succeeding. Number 5, the non-emotional filter. Let logic lead. What if I told you that the key to making better decisions isn't more feelings, but less? Yes, you heard that right. Less emotion, more logic. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but aren't emotions a huge part of what makes us human? Of course, emotions are vital to our experience, but when it comes to decision-making, emotions can cloud our judgment and lead us down paths we regret. What if instead we could adopt a non-emotional filter to let logic lead the way? Trust me, this isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about finding clarity and acting with purpose. We've all been there, right? The moment when you're about to make a decision and suddenly your emotions take over. Whether it's snapping at someone when you're stressed or impulsively buying something you don't need after a bad day, emotions can drive us to make choices that don't serve us in the long run. You know the type, those moments when you react instinctively, only to regret it later. It's like the emotional fog makes everything seem urgent or necessary, even when it's not. Here's where the non-emotional filter comes in. It's a simple idea. Before you make any decision, take a moment to step back and ask yourself, what would my most logical, rational self do right now? Now I know what you're thinking, but I need to listen to my heart. Yes, it's important to tune into your emotions, but let's be honest, most of the time, they're driving us in the wrong direction. The key here is to pause, breathe, and allow your mind to step in before the emotions have a chance to run wild. When you start using logic as your filter, you'll be amazed at how much clearer the choices become. Let me give you an example. A while ago, I was faced with a pretty big decision at work. There was this project I really wanted to take on, but I was overwhelmed with other responsibilities. I was feeling stressed, and honestly, my emotional impulse was to say yes, to take on more, push through and prove I could handle it. But then I stopped myself. I asked, if I was looking at this from a completely logical standpoint, without any emotional pressure, what would I do? The answer was clear. I needed to say no for the sake of my mental health and the quality of my work. It wasn't easy, but it was the right choice. By letting logic lead, I made a decision that I could stand behind without the weight of regret. This, my friends, is about reclaiming control over your life and your choices. It's about breaking free from the emotional roller coaster and choosing what truly serves you. Using the non-emotional filter allows you to remove the urgency that emotions create and see the situation more objectively. You'll find yourself making decisions that feel more aligned with your goals, your values, and your long-term happiness, instead of succumbing to the immediate impulses of frustration, fear, or excitement. So, next time you're faced with a decision, take a step back, breathe. Ask yourself, what's the most logical thing to do right now? You'll find that the decisions you make will be clearer, more empowered, and rooted in your best interests. This isn't about ignoring your emotions, it's about letting your logic take the lead, creating space for real growth, peace, and self-respect. Because when you make decisions with your head, not just your heart, you're choosing strength, you're choosing clarity, and you're choosing your future. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helped you see decision-making in a whole new light and gave you some tools to navigate life with more clarity and confidence. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button. It helps more people find this content. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on how pragmatism can shape not just your decisions, but your entire approach to life. If you know someone who's been struggling with overthinking or indecision, share this video with them. It could make a real difference. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know how you approach your daily decisions, or if you've ever used pragmatism to make a tough choice. Let's keep this conversation going and build a community of like-minded thinkers. Remember, life is full of choices, and each one is an opportunity to embrace simplicity, clarity, and confidence. Keep making decisions that move you forward, and I'll see you in the next video.